Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. I have with me someone I have known for a long time. However, we tried to get this all organized so we could do an interview has been absolutely impossible. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Kristy Hinds. Kristy, thanks for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me, Michael.
Oh, absolutely. We've crossed paths I don't know how many times. And inevitably I told you I was going to interview you, and it took me probably a year to get to you. And for that I apologize.
Oh, I don't think it was that long.
Well, oh,
But
okay. Well,
like I said earlier, I really appreciate it. Yeah,
no, no worries. So I have a bunch of questions, and we'll get started with this. You are from New Mexico, right? But were you born and raised here, or
I
did you
was.
move here as a little kid?
No, I was born here. I was born in Presbyterian Hospital. My father's from Mountain Air. My mother is from back east or
No.
Midwest. But yeah, no, I'm a native New
Yeah,
Mexican.
native New Mexican. So
Yeah,
where did you grow up? What little town? Because I know it's a little town. What little town did you grow up in?
Bosque Farms.
Oh, that's
Bosque
not little
Farms.
anymore. It was
It's
back
not.
then, wasn't it?
And I went to school, high school in Los Lunas, and
Okay.
Peralta is in between. So that whole area is kind of my stomping grounds, or was.
Nice. And that's a beautiful area down there. I
Yeah.
like the Peralta area. I really like the Bosque Farms, Las Lunas area. It's just it wasn't conducive to travel. So because it used
Well,
to be
yeah,
that one road going back and forth, that was all you
yeah,
could do. And it's not like that anymore. But
yeah. It's not. But it's a great place to have horses if you are into that sort of thing.
yes. Did you grow up with horses?
I did. My
Okay.
grandmother was a horse trader, and my mother rode, and she rode, and I rode. My sister rode, and my daughter rode.
Okay. So Western or English?
Both.
Both. Very nice. I
Yeah.
grew up riding English.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I owned horses. I grew up in
Really?
Corrales. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I grew up riding horses, and I grew up training horses, and I did
Did I compete
jumping.
against you at some point
Oh,
in
probably.
in the 70s? Were you one of those guys that I hated? Like, oh, that's a nice.
Probably. I was an obnoxious little kid. I did everything. I did everything from dressage to show
Oh,
jumping
nice.
to hunter
Yeah,
jumper, and then
yeah.
there, this isn't about me, but that's besides.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I was in Pony Club.
Yeah,
So,
me too. I was in Pony
yeah,
Club. See, so we probably crossed paths
you
a
probably did.
long, long time ago. It was funny. Everybody always did. They didn't know me. They knew my horse.
What was
So
your horse's name?
my horse's name was Jazzman, and he was an
Oh,
Appaloosa, and
oh,
he was. He had been in like in a whole bunch of movies and stuff like that. And so,
really?
yeah, I loved horses, and I
Cool.
loved I loved training them, and I loved to
Wow.
see we have something in
I love
common.
horses. I love the smell of horses. You
I
can
love,
still smell horses. It's like, oh, that's
yeah.
perfume.
Oh yeah. They just and it was always like interacting with a very, very big puppy dog because
Yeah,
they loved you back.
I
So
know.
here's a good story for you. I had a horse. His name was Quito, Quito. He was gay. He hated women. He loved men. He hated women.
Interesting.
It was so, I mean, really,
That sounds like a liability.
it it was a problem. There were
Yeah.
some issues back then. Anyway, okay, so you grew up in Bosque Farms, and you grew up
Yes.
in that area. Did you grow up in a musical family? Were your
No, I
parents?
didn't. I didn't, but my mother is musical. She didn't really pursue it, but she was in the UNM choir. They had a piano, but she has a very kind of gypsy. They moved from Michigan early on. She was 14. She has all kinds of stories. She was in a Jeep, and there wasn't room for piano. So I feel like she would have loved to do music, but she just didn't get there. So I'm
Right.
kind of taking up the.
Okay, and that's fine. I mean, some people back then, we didn't have digital pianos. We
I
had
know they were
real
heavy.
pianos.
You
Yeah,
had to carry those things.
we had real pianos, not digital ones.
Yeah, they were
And
not
so back
like,
then it wasn't, it was a luxury to have a piano in the house. So,
yeah.
so what got you started singing? What got you, I mean, you have a very interesting story about all of this because of how you got the musical bug. And if I remember correctly, the famous musician Bo Diddley was involved. So tell me how this comes about.
Well, a lot of people that have grown up around here, probably maybe you yourself included, know the basics of this story. And that is, you know, the legend. Bo Diddley showed up in Peralta, New Mexico, sometime in the 70s. And he happened to move in next to my grandmother. And he had horses. And my grandmother had horses. And so, of course, they were a very strange match made in heaven. But they were always having, I still have the table that they would sit over and talk, you know, horse stories. And they were really good friends, weirdly. But I met his two daughters. I didn't know who they were. There were these couple of kids with afros that showed up, and they were into horses, and that's all I needed to know. So we rode together.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, I ended up in their converted patio area where they had drums and they had all this music equipment. And Terry sat down at the keyboards, Tammy sat down at the drums, and I think Bo handed me a tambourine. And, you know, the Diddley Darlings were born. I was lead tambourinist in the Diddley Darlings. We didn't even sing in that band.
That's funny. So did you sing? I mean, you obviously could keep a beat because if they handed you a tambourine.
You know what? He used to make a joke about how I would never miss a beat because I changed hands with the tambourine.
Okay.
Miss a Bo Diddley beat.
So what got you, like, what did you just sing first? Did you learn guitar? What?
No,
tell
I
me
had
more
never,
about
you
this.
know, I can't remember. I think it was before or after that I had taken guitar lessons. We did have a piano. I was a little bit musically curious, you might say. My parents certainly had, you know, big band era records. There was Doris Day. There was, you know, that.
Oh, Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, Frank
all
Sinatra.
those, yeah.
Yeah. So, and they loved music. So, but I don't think I was really participating until Bo entered the scene and handed me that tambourine.
So did you sing in the high, since you went to Los Lunas, did you sing in the high school choirs? Is that what you did?
No, I didn't.
Really?
I was a stoner.
Let's see, a stoner who likes horses.
They wouldn't let me in shop class. So I'm like, okay, I'm majoring in partying. But no, I didn't. I wish they would have had a theater program.
See, that's interesting because I was involved with theater and choir and music and all that stuff in high school. But that's interesting that you didn't. So tell me how, because I guess the question I'm trying to get to is so how did you get so musically inclined? Because you sing, you play the guitar, you play the piano now, you do all these things. So how did this all come about?
Well, I did sing occasionally. Like I remember getting up at some state fair with some of my friends and we sang. I think I was singing. I used to sing at Hoffmantown Park when we were partying. We would stroll around. We would sing at the top of our lungs. I don't know. I played some guitar. I just wasn't serious about it. But I think I always did sing. So,
okay.
But you know, at some point, I think, I took a trip to Europe. And
okay, yeah.
I was doing the walkabout thing.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
find yourself.
Yeah, you thumbed your way. You hitchhiked across Europe, didn't you?
I hiked across part of Europe.
Oh, okay.
And it was actually a little safer. I probably wouldn't do that now. I wouldn't.
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
So how long were you in Europe hitchhiking your way across?
No, I think it was probably a few months.
Okay.
I visited my cousin who played the guitar, and I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
And I don't know. It was just like a bolt out of the blue thing where I'm like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go home and learn how to play the guitar. And that's what started my music career, which was kind of late, really, early 20s. But I got really serious about it at that point.
Okay. And that point, when you came back, that's when you attended the Dick Grove School of Music in Los Angeles, right?
Yes. Yeah, okay. That was 1987.
Okay, so, and you were just literally studying music there.
Yeah, I studied guitar and vocal performance, I think.
Okay, because that
And I was
school
there
is
for
now
less than
closed.
oh yeah, yeah,
Oh,
long gone, yeah.
right.
But
So you were studying music there with the intention of doing what?
I have no idea. I just, I was like, I need to get out of New Mexico, which, I did that several times already. I always bounce back like people do. But I just felt like, well, if I really want a career in music, I probably need to leave here. So that seemed like a small jump.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did do that. I stayed for, I think, a year. But
Okay, and from there you went to the Pacific Northwest, right?
yes, I came back here, but I just realized LA is not my place. So I went to Seattle, where a drummer named Larry Jones used to live here, and he moved there. He was
Okay.
a good jazz drummer. So I went and I stayed with him for a while. And my other friend, Alan Lewine, was in Portland. So I stayed in Seattle about a year, played some gigs. Then I moved to Portland, and that's where I stayed for probably 13 years. And I did
Okay.
a lot of stuff there.
So when you moved to the Pacific Northwest and you said you lived there for like 13, 14 years,
Yeah.
you did a lot of work though in like Latin, Brazilian
That was
salsa
my that
style
was my
music.
first thing. Yeah. There was a guy from Argentina. No, he was from Chile. And he, Luis Opaso, and he and I put together a band called Via Brazil. We did a lot of the festivals and that sort of thing. There's a lot of festivals in Portland. There's a waterfront. There's all kinds of music. Certainly there was then, and a lot of players. And so we put out a little cassette tape at that time called Via Brazil. Some of my songs were on there, and he had all his little buddies, these salsa buddies, and so we just, salsa, we just Latined out. We did all kinds of,
A lot of grooving.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
and
they knew what they were doing, so I just let them go.
so it's interesting that so you hadn't done music. You had the influence from Bo Diddley, but you hadn't done music. You come back to the States after going across Europe. You go to the Dick Grove School of Music in LA, and then you end up in the Pacific Northwest doing Latin Brazilian style music. I'm assuming during all this time you were writing and playing in the guitar and you
Yeah,
were doing a lot of your own stuff
yeah.
besides that.
I did a lot of solo gigs. I spent, after I came back from Europe, I mean, I already knew how to play the guitar, but then I really got serious about writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a lot of lessons from Steve Mays. Did you ever meet him? He
Doesn't
was
ring a bell.
he had a whole system. I learned most of what I know about jazz guitar from him, and then I went to Dick Grove. So I was already playing gigs here. I know a lot of the musicians back from that time. Wendy Beach. There
Oh
was
yeah.
what was the name of that bar? El Madrid. El Madrid.
El Madrid underneath
That's
the viaduct.
that's when I first got on stage and started, singing. But then I went to Dick Grove, then I went to the Pacific
Okay.
Northwest. So I was doing music.
Okay. And it was that your so up there you were considered what I call a working musician, right?
Yes, definitely, definitely.
Okay. And that was your sole source of, well, I can't say sole source, but that was your
I wouldn't
source of
say
income.
soul, but it was some. And I've also been a graphic designer alongside of my
Oh,
entire music career.
oh,
So I
see, I
supplement.
didn't
Yeah,
see. No, wait. Go back. You're a graphic designer?
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I started that in the 80s as well, about the same time. I would do people's CD covers, or not back then, but I would do promo stuff for people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it goes well with music because all your friends need CD covers or promo or business cards and stuff like
Well,
that. So
nowadays, social media, all that
yeah,
stuff.
now I've kind of migrated to doing stuff like that. So that was a good fit.
See, and I had
Somehow I managed to eke out a living to this point.
okay, which makes perfectly good sense, but I had no idea you were a graphic designer, and
Yeah.
I couldn't find any of that on the internet. So this is something new to me. So here you're doing all this stuff, and for some reason, having left New Mexico, come back to New Mexico, left New Mexico, come back to Mexico, and left New Mexico.
All the
Now
time.
you came back. When
Yeah.
did you come back and why?
Well, I came back in 2004 with a 3-year-old. So
Okay.
it takes a village, Michael.
Yeah.
Turns out it takes a village. So my parents were here, and I 3 years into motherhood, I'm like, you know what? I could probably use a little help. So I came back, and I didn't do music for a long time. I
Okay.
was a mother, and it's been, 5, 6 years that I just, you know, the desire just came back, and I've just been going with it. So she's 22 today, matter of fact.
No, very nice. So I think it's interesting that even during all of this, you take a break. Music is what you want to do, and then graphic design and other things is how you supplement your music, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So, with all the music that you do and everything that you've released some singles and I know of one full album and
Mhm.
then some singles. So, talk to
Mhm.
me about your recordings.
Well, my first recording was via Brazil, and there was just like maybe three of my tunes. That was that little cassette.
Oh,
But
okay.
then I managed to cobble together, like, I think there was 12 tunes on my only full release of album. That was in the 90s. That's when people were really, trying to get record deals, and that
Mhm.
was I actually had a distribution deal in Portland. I had a manager, I had stuff, but um I don't know. I think I burned out after I did all that promo, and that's when I was like, I think I'm going to do something else for a while. But that was
Well,
Into the Fray.
okay. And that's called, yeah, Into the Fray. And
Yeah,
that
and that
was
has
released in
97,
98,
97, I think, or 98.
97. Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I did all that. But then the 2000s came, motherhood came. And in the last, 6 years, I think in 2020, February of 2020, I released the next record that I ever released. And that was right before COVID hit. Uh, that was my three timing.
I'm sorry because every interview I talk to somebody,
They're
COVID
like,
comes
oh
up.
yeah,
Yeah.
that
So, but
happened.
you released your second one was called Strange Religion, right?
Yeah, that had three songs. Oh, and I
Three
hadn't
songs.
even written any songs for a long time. So I think my dad dying kind of prompted some stuff, because that's when I really, I wrote those songs, and I'm like, oh, I think I'll do this again. And that was, yeah, Strange Religion, three songs on that, just a little EP. And then was it last summer I released another EP of three more tunes.
That one's called Play Me Out.
Play Me Out, and that has one original that was me and John Funkhauser and Will Hanley.
Hmm.
And we were just playing together a lot at that time. I kind of wanted to capture some of what we were doing, because it was kind of cool.
Hmm.
And so there's a cover tune, two cover tunes on that, and then one of my songs.
Okay.
And,
Now,
and then
as I say, now you just did another one, right? Didn't you just release another single called Stain?
yeah, but that was something I reclaimed, and I got Third Eye Studio, Dave McRae, he got the thing off of a cassette, and he cleaned it up for me, because that was a cool tune that I had done. It was just a demo. It was just
Right.
me in the rhythm section. But when I listened to it, I was like, yeah, this is really pretty cool. And my style has evolved, since then. So I don't think I could do that again. It's cool to have.
So talk to me about your style, because you have a unique style of music. You aren't pigeonholed. You can't say you're jazz, you're not folk, you're not rock, you're not blues. You're kind of a little bit of everything all rolled into one. Some people would call that Americana. What would you call your style of music?
Well, I really don't know what to call it. Sometimes I call it jazz rock mashup. I've called it female Steely Dan. I've called it jazzy Ani DeFranco. I've called it all kinds of things, because I don't know what to call it, and no one else does either. But um, you know,
It's okay
I still
because
got to do it.
well, and I get it because I've listened to you numerous times, and when I listen to you, like I said, it's not jazz, and it's not rock, it's not blues, it's not folk, it's like you put all of those things together, and as you said, it's like a mashup, but it's
Mhm.
so unique. It's very different, and it's very ear catching.
Hmm.
And you like to play, of all things, I think it's funny, you like to play with a ukulele, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I do. Well, that thing is
Why?
so easy to carry around. I wish I
Is
could
that
have
the
a
only reason?
ukulele and my tiny little Bose speaker that I just got. I wish I could do gigs like that.
Well,
Maybe I can.
you probably can. So, because I think it's interesting. I've heard you play the uke, and I'm like, she actually does that really, really well, and it accompanies you nicely. But I was like, why the ukulele?
I don't know why I walked into a Guitar Center one day. This was years ago because I didn't even play it. I just hung it up, but I bought one. And then, like I said, I wrote some tunes on. I wrote some cool tunes. I like writing on the uke because you're limited with you got those four strings, so it limits your. Anytime you get on a different instrument, then you hear different possibilities. But yeah, you can move between major and minor in a really cool way, and
Mhm.
yeah, I just found it intriguing. I play. Yeah, I don't really play the uke. I play what I can play on it, and I'm still trying to figure out. Like if I had to go to a jam session and read
Oh,
it, I don't think I could do that. I just play a little one note something.
yeah, but you accompany yourself nicely. There, I mean, I get that. I wouldn't bring an instrument that I don't know very well to a jam session, but you still can accompany yourself nicely. With all your recordings that you've done and all the things that you've done, including your re-release of Stain, is there any one particular song or any one particular recording that stands out for you that you kind of say the cream rose to the top? Does that make sense?
I would say easily the best song that I've written. I'm not sure if we have the quintessential recording of it yet. I did two recordings of this, or I did a re-release, a remix of it. But Play Me Out, I like that song. I think I tapped into something else. I think I let some of the lyrics just be written, that's really the best way to do it.
Mhm.
Uh, People tend to like that song. And I
I
think,
do.
and I think, it's cool that you can, because sometimes musicians peak, like songwriters peak, and then they don't put anything else out good. So it was really gratifying for me to be able to do it later after a bunch of my career already happened.
It's not over with you. Keep going.
Yeah, so it's nice to know that I still had some creativity that came through me that way that felt, because nothing feels greater than that. When you write something, that's just such a high,
Yeah, I
So
agree. It's interesting. So you did a re-release of that song and you did it with a mix.
I did.
And
Sean Hedinger,
right?
he's been doing scoring some films, and he works. I think he done some like he did the theme song for Chelsea Handler. He's been doing these cool things with keyboard sounds, and he does. I just wanted to work with him because uh, I thought, yeah, we got this kind of epic thing happening with the string pads that he used, and it was fun to sit down there and work with him, and kind of communicate symbolically and with noise instead of
Hmm.
words.
Yeah,
And so,
it's very different than the original release. Now, I will put down below, I'll put down where we can, get your
okay,
streaming because it's available on Bandcamp, it's available on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple, iTunes. It's
yeah,
available on YouTube. It's available everywhere. But
yeah,
there's such a difference between the way those two songs were mixed, the original versus the re-release.
yeah.
And that's why I wanted to bring it up. I was like, well, this is so different.
Hmm.
And it's not that I don't like the remix. I like
Hmm.
the original more than I like the remix, but the
Yeah,
remix is kind of cool because he put some interesting things in there.
yeah.
So,
Well, honestly, I didn't spend all the time and money I could have on the remix because I just didn't really want to dedicate that much resources to it. But but yeah, it was kind of fun.
okay.
To explore some different textures.
I thought it was, like I said, I thought it was pretty cool because it was like, okay, so so sometimes people will do a remix and they'll really change it up, or they'll hand it to a producer and say, "Here, you remix it," and I take it you had a hand in it then.
I didn't do any mixing, but I did. Yeah, as far as what the textures and stuff like that, yeah, I sat with him and told him, we just talked about what kind of emotional response we wanted at certain points.
Okay.
So
So I want to go back to your childhood because you had some, I'm sure you have some interesting stories of when you would be over at Bo Diddley's house, um, and famous people would come to meet with Bo, and you got to meet
well,
some famous people. Is that true?
yeah, I do remember Chuck Berry very clearly. He was very tall. Of course, I was little, but he came through, and I don't remember what happened. I can just see him giant
Right.
next to Bo. And then I think Keith Richards came.
Oh my goodness.
But you'd have to, I mean, this is, I know some people in town that still might remember who, you know, I, I'm not sure. I can't really picture Keith Richards, but for some reason I think that he did come. Someone told me that he was there and I was there.
Okay.
I was just 10, so
Well, that was a long time
never
ago.
mind to me.
Anybody else you could remember coming through the Bo Diddley home?
Well, there's plenty of local luminaries that were in and out. I mean, Mike Fleming,
Hmm.
you know, he was there. He was Tammy's drum teacher.
Okay.
Arnold Bodmer,
Oh yeah.
he was teaching Terry keyboards.
Oh nice.
Yeah, and they had their little thing. I can say that I felt perfectly safe there. Those guys took care of us. It could have been a lot weirder, but it actually was very family.
Nice. Very nice. So
Just for the record.
yeah, further. Uh, so we're going to go back to the present here, and I'm gonna ask you a question that I ask a lot of people. Tell me something unique about yourself that people would be surprised to learn. We've already learned the fact that you're a graphic designer, so you can't use that one.
Yeah. Well, there's probably a lot of things, but that I would publicly disclose, I would say, I have a sailing dream and I want to sail across an ocean in a boat before I die.
Oh, nice. That's a
With
good bucket
sails,
list.
with sails. That's so if anyone's out there can help me realize this dream,
That's a good
call
bucket
me.
list one. That's a good bucket list. Cool. All right. So I have time for one more question, and this is the
Okay.
one that I ask everybody, and let's see what kind of stories you could come up with,
Okay.
because musicians have the best stories. Strangest gig, funniest story, something from that happened to you. Do you have something you'd like to share?
Well, it's got to be when the Diddley Darlings performed at the Honor Farm in Los Lunas with Bo Diddley. I mean, there's these prisoners in the, where I I don't remember anything weird, but just as far as unusual situations, I mean, there are pictures of me in a gold lame outfit at 10 with the
I
shaking.
saw that picture. I saw that picture. And there's the
Rocking
two
it.
sisters way up here. You're
I
like
know, and
way down.
me, short little, yeah. So that's how we performed. That was one of our costumes. And yeah, probably there was just seeing Bo from the wings and then going in there with our little entourage. Yeah, those are the most memorable gigs that I probably have done.
Oh, that's funny. That's good. All right. Well, we're running out of time. I want to thank Kristy for joining me today. I wish you the best of luck because I love all your music. I love
Thank
what you
you.
do. Keep
Thank you so
doing what
much.
you're doing. I look
Thank you.
forward to hanging out with you in the future. And ladies and gentlemen, we will catch you next time.